Royal Duality, Tales for the Silent One. Chapter 1.
The trio played cards until the early hours, with someone suffering more than the other two.
You know, it's a bit boring for me. You two keep playing me out in the first 5 turns.
As noted, you need to examine your strategies, Klein. Oh, it seems you've won, Silent One. Congratulations. I haven't lost a game for some time, yet I don't feel annoyed.
Could it be? Has our wallflower Isla grown a tiny bit closer to someone?
Don't spoil what has been a good night, Klein.
Fine. It's just nice to see you meeting someone new.
He often tries to make me socialize with others. It's very trying. But spending time with someone reflective and quiet like you reminds me that it's not all bad outside.
Isla, are you saying we could go out for a night out?
At no point did I say anything that resembled that.
This is glorious! We could listen to the Tales and Feast package, Isla. Sirius loves to spin a yarn. Then he'd have to entertain me. Imagine getting personal time with Sirius.
He never has been a good listener. But, Silent One, would you like to know more about that story? The tale of King Evergreen, I mean.
Isla, are you actually offering to tell a story? I've never heard you say that before.
I am. Not because of a newly kindled friendship. If the Silent One came to hear the tale, they should hear the whole story, not a cherry-picked series of events.
This is so exciting!
Shh! Keep your voice down. Don't be so dramatic, Klein. Silent One, I can assure you of the accuracy. I provided my services for Farcal's vampire court to provide an impartial view of what happened at the Evergreen Castle. So, would you like to hear another side to the tale?
Yes! Alrighty then. Looks like we're going to be having quite the night.
Klein, you don't need to whisper. Just avoid shouting. The whole tavern doesn't need to hear you. Before we begin, I'd like both of you to close your eyes and focus on the sound of the fire, while I prepare the room.
Oh, alright. This is great, isn't it, Silent One? A real treat, to be sure. She hasn't even done this for me.
You may open your eyes.
The room no longer looked as it did before. It was as though they were transported to the past itself, though they floated above the scene and were watching from the sky. There is a large, lush forest below them, though it appears charred and wrecked by fire.
Oh, wow.
It all began with a fire. The Evergreen Fire. It roared through the Fey homeland. Everything was brought to ruin. 4 vampires took this opportunity to occupy the Evergreen Castle. They were Count Helmrich and his manservant Driscoll, both of whom were traveling together before the incident. They were joined by the High Cleric Blackheath, along with the spider deity he worshipped, Ira. Helmrich was not yet an adult and had been sent away from Farkle in mysterious circumstances. The boy's existence was an embarrassment to his father, Count Angelus. I should probably mention that Helmrich was a vampire born of a human woman. That was the source of his father's shame.
Born? But vampires are dead. How does that work?
I am telling you a story, not giving a lesson in the sciences. I do not know how it works. Regardless. Driscoll was Count Angelus's faithful servant. He was tasked with keeping Helmrich hidden from the world. The castle would ensure the Count's son would never be found. The great deity was also seeking refuge. She had just surfaced from the halls of death. Even though she found herself in Alessa Machna, the Fey country, her diligent high cleric, Blackheath, was waiting for her.
I didn't know vampires could travel over the water. I feel like I don't know very much of anything today.
Clerics are bound to their deities. They can do almost anything for their sake. The 4 vampires, while all very different, shared the same desperate circumstances. Displaced vampires in the heart of the enemy land. High Cleric Blackheath knew of a hex on the Fey Castle. Once vampires entered, they would be unable to leave. This would usually be a tactical advantage to the Fey. But the High Cleric seized the castle for the deity. Such was his devotion to her. He and the servant Driscoll worked together to achieve this goal. The young count used his ability to control the mind of a vampiric lichen boy in the forest. The boy carried a terrible disease that spread quickly across the land. I'm sure I do not need to discuss that element in much detail.
No. Sirius talks all about it in his story. What a grisly business.
The deed was finally done. The fire ebbed, and the Fae left their forest and castle behind. The vampires were now deliberately trapped. The land around them was poisoned. They would, at last, know peace. The manservant and cleric interacted as little as was possible once they captured the castle. It was a large place, and easy for them to live entirely separate lives.
That's awkward, isn't it?
Indeed. As Helmrich became an adult, he struggled with his abilities regarding the mind and its inner mechanics. Driscoll was unable to train him in that discipline, and consequently, his powers raged out of control. He was unable to ignore the thoughts of others. If he had been out in the open, he would have easily broken the minds of others and forced them to do his will. Thus, he was isolated from everyone, aside from Driscoll, whom he couldn't control. Helmrich turned to the vampiric deities for comfort, hoping they would help him. So desperate he was. The Count worshipping deities is unthinkable in this day and age.
Well, it didn't work out too well for him, did it?
Driscoll, ashamed of his failings, vowed to make Helmrich a perfect copy of his father, to look, talk, and act just like him.
Made him? Like he trained him?
I sensed that the sciences were used to manipulate Helmrich in many ways.
Science? Like potions and spells?
Mixtures, medicines, and more invasive procedures.
How horrific.
The cleric and deity distanced themselves and stayed together.
Not surprised.
Enough interruptions, Klein. For years, the two pairs had separate and undisturbed lives. That was all they wanted, to live undisturbed lives. Many years later, a young wizard snuck into the castle to catch a glance at the great deity. However, this was not unnoticed. The High Cleric, Blackheath, caught Oliver Lunastella in the outer sanctum of the great deity. He used a spell to trap the wizard, but the young man would not so easily be stopped.
I usually find little rats sneaking around the outer chamber, not wizards. How did you get in?
I don't answer to you.
No, you do not.
I have no further business here. I mean you no harm. I'll be on my way.
What do you think?
From what I saw, she's...
She. And that means you cast your eyes on the beloved deity.
I mean her no harm.
No, I don't believe you do. Directly.
I don't wish to have another war. Let me go back to the Wizards' Council. Let me tell them about your situation. We could try and find a peaceful outcome.
You are not permitted to look upon the goddess without her invitation in advance. This is indeed the gravest sin you could have committed.
I did not mean to offend you. How can I...
Repent with your blood, wizard. Let it flow. I will sacrifice on the great deity's altar, and she will forgive you.
This blade, it's...
It is one of my own making. It cannot be removed from the living. It can only be withdrawn once you are dead.
I mean, I know that's how the story starts, but how savage.
Strong beliefs complicate many things in this world. The desperate thoughts of the wizard as he lay dying did not go unnoticed by Count Helmrich. He did everything he could to ignore them, but nothing could distract him. Not reading, not sleeping, nothing. The wizard's corpse was left to rot once it was drained, but Count Helmrich, consumed by guilt, did the unthinkable. He made Oliver his fledgling.
That's drastic. Say, Silent One, do you know what happens when vampires create a fledgling? Ah, well, I can fill you in on that score. When a non-human is turned into a vampire, they become something called a wraith. They retain their knowledge, magic, and powers, but often forget their personal memories and their previous life.
That is true. I believe that Helmrich felt that a wraith life would give the young wizard more time. Though it appeared he did not realize the consequences of his actions.
Wait! Are you telling me Helmrich isn't a villain? He saved Oliver because he felt bad?
I'm not making assertions on Helmrich's character. I am telling you what happened.
I bet the servant and High Cleric weren't impressed.
No. They discussed their now shared issue quite plainly.
Good evening, Master Blackie. Well, it's all a bit of a mess with that wizard sneaking in.
And we have your neglectful attitude to thank for that, Driscoll.
Well, I'm a simple soul. No match for a powerful wizard like he was. I say was because...
Driscoll, I need no further explanation of what happened to him. I killed the wretch, after all.
So you did? Well then, what's that madame in the cellar told you to do?
How dare you speak of the great deity so rudely? You are fortunate that she is merciful, otherwise you...
If I wasn't around, you'd be in a real pickle. We both know you'd all starve to death without me, so I don't think she'd be too hard on me.
You are trying my patience today.
Oh, I am sorry, Master Blackheath. It isn't my intention.
We are from opposite ends of the social spectrum. I, a respected high cleric, and you, a servant of a count who's renounced religion.
You're only too right. I'm a royalist through and through. If we weren't forced here, if we weren't trapped together, we'd be enemies, wouldn't we?
But as it stands, we need each other.
Is that right? What I mean is, why do I need you?
If Helmrich bonds with his fledgling, he won't want to spend time with you anymore. You'll be replaced, and that would be troublesome for you.
Yes, it would.
So let's continue to assist each other for now.
Right you are, Master Cleric. Aren't you so very clever? Well, I'll be on my way. I'm very busy, you know. Farewell.
Another problem I need to manage. When will I ever get time to myself?
Friendship did not sit on the High Cleric's list of priorities. Nevertheless, he and Driscoll worked together to ensure that Helmrich would not interact with Oliver. They also wanted to make sure that Oliver would become a great cleric.
Why's that? I mean, I get that Driscoll didn't like the idea of Oliver getting close to Count Helmrich, but...
I am not certain of Driscoll's exact motivations, but the documents that were found in the castle suggest that the wizard's memories of his past life were sometimes present, despite the transformation being complete. Blackheath couldn't purge the memories alone, no matter how hard he tried.
That's impossible, isn't it? He was a wraith. I thought they lost their memories. Oliver must have been a very powerful wizard indeed.
I believe he was. A different approach than usual was needed, and that's where Driscoll came in. He went to bizarre extremes to help Blackheath in this endeavor. As well as the physical transformation, Driscoll changed Oliver's voice and the way he thought. He hoped that it would create dissonance and make Oliver feel detached from the past.
That's so cruel! Isn't that horrible, Silent One?
It's expected, really. Driscoll and High Cleric Blackheath had to make it work. They had a deity to impress. The wizard Oliver, now the young cleric, awoke in a cold and drafty room. It was packed with bottles, jars, books, and medical tools, though it resembled a workshop as much as it did a place of healing.
I feel cold. I feel weak and tired. Where am I?
Blackheath, I think Helmric's fledgling is waking up.
Yes, I can see that, you fool. Be careful. You're in a fragile state.
I can't remember anything. Where am I?
You're at the Evergreen Castle. It once belonged to the Fae, but is now the stronghold of the great vampiric deity Ira.
I don't recognize any of those names.
Oh my, it seems High Cleric Blackheath has work to do.
I anticipated this, Driscoll. Cease your mindless commentary. Do not worry. I am your mentor, Blackheath. I am here to guide you.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, Mentor Blackheath.
Blackheath is fine. I'm certain it will all seem strange, but don't worry. This is a normal part of the process.
I see. What process is that?
The process of becoming a wraith. It's what you wanted, after all.
It is?
You were heavily injured, left for dead. We revived you.
That explains why I'm so weak and tired.
Indeed. It will take a few weeks to fully recover. Your memories, on the other hand, won't return. But no matter. Your new life will begin better than your previous one. That I guarantee.
High Cleric Blackheath must have been encouraged by what he saw. Otherwise, he would have not felt the need to visit the great deity. As the High Cleric walked through the tired corridors, he wondered what the young cleric would become if his plan succeeded. He opened the doors to the inner sanctum, a beautifully decorated part of the castle. Adorned with vampiric icons and symbols, the High Cleric ensured that the room was dressed in red and black velvet, with seating and fine ornaments, as per the great deity's tastes.
Great deity, I bring glad tidings.
Oh, I do like glad tidings, High Cleric. Speak then. What news? Did the wizard survive his transformation?
Indeed he did, though he does not recall who or what he was before. We have a clean slate to work from.
Not entirely clean, I hope. His magical power is of value to us, High Cleric.
As you say, great deity, his power is still intact and unspoiled.
Good. We need strong clerics in our new temple. I hope that he learns the truth about those insufferable winged vermin and their warmongering.
Of course, great deity. I will teach him of the Fae and their wicked ways. I present to you his staff and belongings from his previous life.
Perhaps we can break them down and harness their power. The wizards had a tendency to carry their most powerful belongings on their person. Isn't that fortunate for us?
Yes, of course, Great One. I shall see to it.
Blackheath, do not leave just yet. We have another matter to discuss.
Oh, of course. Forgive my haste. How may I be of service to you?
I've sensed a cursed lichen approaching us. You have not brought him to my attention.
It is with a heavy heart that I cannot guarantee that he will...
Blackheath? I thought you said glad tidings.
The wolf is an ally of the Fae, so...
So... what?
Securing him might be challenging.
You like challenges, don't you?
Of course. However,
High Cleric.
Yes, Great One.
I dislike this hesitance in your voice. Speak with certainty and reassure me of your worth.
Yes, Great One. I shall attempt to bring him to your side.
Blackheath, you shall bring him to my side. And if you cannot do it alone, then I shall guide you. And we both know you'd prefer to solve this puzzle yourself, so...
I shall resolve it for you promptly, Great Goddess. Good evening.
Good evening, High Cleric. Warren Monkshood. I am so very eager to meet you. I hope we can get along. One cursed being to another.
How did she know that Warren was going to be in the group? She couldn't even leave the castle. Oliver was missing for weeks before the Evergreen rescue party came. How did she know Warren would come to her?
All keen observations, Klein. This event happened some weeks before the group had even started their journey. Ira, the vampiric spider deity, had the gift of foresight with regards to cursed beastkin and vampires. Warren's physical journey to the castle had not begun. However, the spider deity knew that the wheel of fate was beginning to turn.
Did she fancy Warren, then? To be keeping an eye out so early on? Well...
I sincerely doubt that, Klein. However, rumor has it that cursed beastkin, including lichens, can become vampiric deities if they are turned into vampires. They retain their memories, unlike other wraiths. The pain of their previous life often fuels their second.
So, she wanted Warren to be a deity without even meeting him? That's impulsive.
Regardless of our thoughts on the matter, that was her decision. As time passed, the young cleric adjusted to his new physiology. Count Helmrich was paranoid that Driscoll and the High Cleric Blackheath were conspiring behind his back, and insisted on regular medical checks, much to the young cleric's dismay.
I wish Count Helmrich didn't insist on these medical checks from Driscoll. They're really odd.
Isn't it interesting how people change?
Excuse me?
Well, Master Cleric, you've changed a lot since you arrived.
I don't feel any different.
Well, I can confirm you're physically changing. It's honestly quite fascinating. Master Helmrich will be ever so pleased. Besides, you were alive before. Now you're half alive. It's a unique transformation. Changelings can be one thing and then another. But vampirism, that's a final destination, biologically speaking.
To my knowledge, changelings are the product of stories, concocted by the Fae to teach children to behave.
Oh, I don't know, Master Cleric. I like to think they are real. Imagine how useful it'd be. Why, you could get away with murder.
Why would you want that? Of all the things a changeling would be able to...
It's a figure of speech, Master Cleric, nothing more. Don't you be worrying about me. Murdering you. Besides, I wouldn't have cause to, now would I? We're friends.
I suppose so?
I mean, you could have a whole new life, and no one would ever know what had happened before if you were a changeling. Wouldn't you like a life like that, Master Cleric? Oh, listen to me, running off my mouth so rudely. I'm ever so sorry. Tell you what, here's a bit of the good stuff from my private stash.
I don't drink alcohol, but... Wait. This is... wolfsbane, not alcohol. Why would you give me this?
It's for when we go hunting together. I have a strong feeling you'll be in need of it. The wolves struggle the most before they die, you know.
Hunting? Me?
You're a wraith now. Hunting is part of the job. Getting blood for the pure vampires who can't step out of the castle walls. It's a simple pleasure, Master Cleric.
Oh, look at the time. I'm afraid I have to return to the High Cleric and perform the necessary rituals. If you'll excuse me, Driscoll, I must be on my way.
Oh yes. Goodbye, Master Cleric. Be careful with that bottle.
Are you alright, Isla?